Hello and welcome to the GMAT Advanced Target 700 series and the ninth installment of the verbal part of the whole series. This installment is in continuation to the eighth installment where we had seen the mapping technique for reading a particular reading comprehension. So in this session, we are going to see questions that will be related to that particular passage, and we will see how we will be able to implement that mapping onto our questions. Another thing that we have done in this particular video is that we are going to discuss some different types of questions and some very prominent question types that might appear in the GMAT exam. So for those of you who have not seen the part 8, I would recommend that you go back and spend some time on part 8. We have dealt with it in great detail as to how the whole mapping technique should be kind of deployed when reading a particularly large passage, and this is a slightly longish passage. So you must definitely go if you want to get into the detail. We will any which ways do a short revision of that passage before going on to the questions. So let's look at this passage that we had discussed in the last installment. It said that it was basically a passage on infrastructure, and it said adequate quality and reliability of infrastructure are key factors in the ability of countries to compete in international trade. Even in traditional commodities, the competition for new export markets is especially dependent on high quality infrastructure, which served as our introduction. Then we read about the approach. One approach to assessing the economic returns from infrastructure investment is to examine the rates of return in a large sample of completed projects. The average economic rate of return on infrastructure projects re-estimated after loan disbursement has averaged around 15%. Returns have been lowest and declining for irrigation and drainage, airports, railways, power, water supply, and sewerage. Okay, so we had discussed the last time that we have been told about a benchmark, and then we have been presented with a dilemma. What is this dilemma? The dilemma is that why should this be so given the expected benefits of such investments in developing countries, right? It is basically saying that developing countries need railways, they need power, they need water supply, they need sewerage. So any project that comes up in these particular areas should not face a problem of a declining rate of return. Okay, returns should not be low. So people are using it, they will pay for it, and hence the project should pay for itself. Now, some of the causes, okay, this was kind of like the explanation of the dilemma. Some of the causes relate to implementation problems and others to project identification and design. A common pattern discovered in project completion reviews of water, railway, and power projects is the tendency at the time of appraisal to overestimate the rate of growth in demand for new production and therefore of revenues. So we had seen in the last video that how these three issues, project identification, design, and rate of growth, are the primary reasons why some of these projects, despite having a lot of potential in developing countries, are not able to generate the required rate of return, right? Now we had some examples which were stated here. For the power projects in the sample, demand was overestimated by 20% on average over a 10-year operating period. In water projects, overestimation of rates of new connections and per capita consumption also averaged around 20%. In the case of railways, until recent years, projects often assumed recovery in demand, even where railways were continually losing traffic to roads, offering better service. In 29 of 31 cases, freight traffic failed to reach its projected level, and in 1/3, traffic actually declined. So we had discussed that these examples pertain primarily to the points 1 and 3 that we have identified, which are basically pertaining to project identification and rate of growth. That you should have seen whether traffic on railways will continue to increase. If rail have been losing traffic to roads, it does not make for a very strong case to invest in railway projects. Uh, at least not with the kind of rate of growth that you are expecting to, right? One important explanation for the misjudgments during appraisal is inadequate procedures for assessing demand. Okay, so we don't really know how to assess demand correctly because we have inadequate procedures for doing that, including the effects of tariff increases. Okay, oversizing and appropriate design of investments then occur, resulting in financial burdens on the project entities concerned. Infrastructure is a necessary, though not sufficient, precondition for growth. Adequate complements of other resources must be present as well. The growth impact of infrastructure investments also depends on the timing and location of additions to capacity and on the existing imbalance between supply and demand. Because much infrastructure consists of networks, relieving bottlenecks at certain points in the ecosystem can produce very high returns. So we had seen how this new angle was kind of introduced in the passage. Okay, so we had done the whole mapping technique, how we classified each of the paragraphs into these different frameworks. I would recommend that you go back to the video if you have not done so and look at this technique. It will really help you. Today we are going to discuss different types of questions, and we have used illustrations of how a question type can be modified to test you on a slightly different skill. Now all of you know that in GMAT there is only all the multiple choice questions that are there, they only have one option correct. Okay, unlike a lot of other exams where multiple options can be correct, all questions in GMAT only have a single correct option, right? Which means you have to select one option out of the 5 options that are given to you. If you look at this particular question, you can see there is a question, you have 3 choices, 1, 2 and 3, and then you have a combination of choices amongst the actual option of choices, right? So you will have to select option choices amongst these, right? A, B, C, D, E. These are basically the second level of reasoning. So what have the examiners done? What they have done is that they have used a 2-level approach. Okay, so you can call these questions, this can be level 1, and this is basically level 2. By a 2-level approach, examiners have converted a multiple correct question to a single correct. And this is a fairly common technique across exams, where you will see what examiners will do is that they will introduce 2 levels in the question. Essentially, this is a single choice a single option question, but you have to evaluate 3 different pointers, right? So the basic aim of this question is to demonstrate how in GMAT as well, this approach can be used to ask you a question which essentially is a multiple correct question, which is masquerading as a single correct one. Okay, so let's look at the question. It says it can be inferred from the passage that which of the following are possible ways in which the rates of return from a project can get adversely affected, right? Now, if you go back to our entire map, we know that there have been a total reasoning of the same, and we have also kind of looked at examples of why this dilemma is occurring, right? We have even mapped out 1, 2 and 3 as the possible sources of these problems, project identification, design and rate of growth. Armed with this information, we can very quickly attack this question. Wrong design, definitely. Growth slowdown, definitely yes. Poor community support. Now, do you see poor community support anywhere? If you had not kind of mapped out the whole passage in this shape and form, you would probably have thought that community support is going to be one of the reasons for power projects. Whether it's their usage or whether it's the take rate of this project that is depending on community support. But if you form the map like we have discussed in the last passage, you can see that there is no community support that is identified here. You have just 3 factors, and we have examples of the same. Even in the examples, there is no discussion around community support anywhere, right? So because we have done the mapping really well, we do not have to spend a lot of time on the question. Okay, so only 1 and 2 are right. Now, if you look at the options, option B is the only option that offers only 1 and 2. Okay, so why were we able to answer this question pretty quickly? Because we were very clear about what are these 1, 2 and 3 reasons, And even before we had come to the questions, we had already mapped out the entire passage. Hence, we could kind of move very, very quickly on this particular question, right? Let's move on to the next question. This question says that the passage suggests that all of the following are possible causal factors leading to lack of judgment associated with projects, except, okay? Now, what you have to keep in mind is that you do not have to think about what are the factors that can affect the rate of return here. Okay, this is talking about what are the reasons for the lack of judgment, right? It is already established that there is lack of judgment, or you are overestimating growth. You are not looking at the fit of the particular project. You are not identifying it correct. You are not designing it correct, right? So design, fit, and growth is something that we have already seen. Now people are saying that yes, we know that we are going wrong in this, but why is it that we are not able to estimate the rate of growth? Or why is it that we are not able to estimate whether this project is actually needed or not, right? So let's look at the option, and then it also says all of these are possible causal factors leading to lack of judgment, except, right? Now let's look at the first option. The impact that competing services have on the demand for a particular project. This is absolutely there, okay? Which means if you go back to the passage, the paragraph 3, so I think not the paragraph 3 talks about railway. Okay, here, losing traffic to roads offering better service, okay? So roads are basically a competing service to the railways, right? And what is the option saying? The impact that competing services have on the demand for a particular project. So this is definitely one of the causal factors that are relating to the lack of judgment associated with the project, right? Let's look at option B. The impact of network elements in an intertwined setup. This is a slightly tricky question, option, If you look at the last line of, the passage, it basically talks about relieving bottlenecks at certain points of the system can produce very high returns. Remember, the entire passage was talking about how network effects are very, very important. Okay, this was a new angle which was introduced only in the last passage, which served as a solution as well as a conclusion, right? So, we have seen that relieving bottlenecks at certain points of the system can produce very high returns, hence pointing to the impact of network elements in an intertwined setup. So this is also there. Okay, we have seen that this is there. Let's look at option C, the lack of availability of other resources. Again, if you've seen the last passage, it talks about adequate complements of other resources must be present as well. Hence, we have support. So other resources also find support in the same passage in which option B finds the support. Adverse tax demands raised by the respective governments. Take a moment, go back to the passage. Have we seen anywhere any adverse tax demands or anything like that? See, we have a discussion around rate of return. And I am sure the rate of return also depends on the kind of tax demands that governments make. So even though this might be right in principle, it is nowhere covered in the passage. And we have seen that if something is not explicitly covered in the passage, then we do not have any basis for answering a question, even if we think that that is real in the actual world. Okay, so you have to divorce your understanding of the actual world with whatever information has been presented in the passage. So you have to treat it as an isolated case and not bring in your own gumption or your own ideas about the topic and let it meddle with the question. So we have not seen adverse demands anywhere in the passage. We have seen A, we have seen B, we have seen C. Let's look at option E before we finalize on D. the mismatch in location of project and location of capacity addition. Now take some time again and think about this last option. If you are reaching where I am hinting, you can see that, you know, timing and location of additions to capacity are also very, very important, right? So all you had to do was focus on the last paragraph and you would have been able to isolate D, which is not one of the causal factors that is leading to a lack of judgment, right? So as you have seen that as compared to all the other passages that we saw, you know, before the eighth installment, we were spending a lot more time. You know, I spent some time more on these questions because, you know, I wanted to demonstrate the power of mapping technique. But after you have mastered mapping technique and you map out long passages really well, these questions are going to become very, very easy for you to answer and you can sail through them very quickly, right? So what we'll do is that in the next session, we'll also look at another very prominent type of question, and that basically will be pertaining to the tone of the passage. So for those of you, you know, who have seen this video and have reached this particular point, I would suggest, I would recommend that you go back and you read a lot about the tone of the passage. What are the different kinds of tones that are associated with a particular passage? Because in the next installment, we are going to discuss the tone of this passage and we'll spend the entire session on the different kind of tones you can expect in the GMAT exam. Okay. Till then, don't forget to subscribe to get all the videos of this series, and don't forget to like. It motivates us to put out more content. It will also help, make this content available to other aspirants, people in your network, your friends, who might also be preparing for this exam with you. Okay, in the next series, as I said, we will be discussing the tone of this passage and tones of passages in general. Right, so I'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep preparing. Bye.